You cannot give birth to your future while you are still cradling the corpse of your past. That is the first law of spiritual alchemy, the first sword of severance, the first sacred flame that clears the field for new growth. I have watched so many powerful, beautiful souls pray for miracles while refusing to release the memory of their own crucifixion. They cry out for a new life while clinging to the very identity that keeps them chained to the old one. They weep for change while tenderly embalming who they used to be with the tears of their daily attention. And so I ask you, with a love that is fierce enough to be honest, a love that sees not your struggle, but your sovereign strength, what are you still trying to keep alive that your soul has already pronounced dead? The ache you feel, that deep, resonant stuckness, the slow suffocation in the same repeating patterns, it is not because you are weak. It is not because you are broken. It is not because you lack discipline or drive or a faith mighty enough to move mountains. It is because you are over-identified with an old garment. You are dressed in the energy of delay, cloaked in a subtle shame you mistake for humility, wearing the tattered robe of a woman who once learned that she had to earn love, hustle for her worth, or bow to the god of scarcity. But that garment, my love, has become grave clothes, and you are not stuck. You are simply still calling yourself by a name you were never, ever meant to keep. I speak to you now with the voice of spiritual law, with the fire of divine remembrance, with the sword of metaphysical truth that cuts through illusion and sets the spirit free. And I say this with a holy love that desires only your complete and total liberation. Your false identity must be buried. It cannot be negotiated with. It cannot be rehabilitated. It must be spoken dead. It must be surrendered so violently, so completely to truth, that the lie cannot find a single crack in your consciousness to return. No more patching old wineskins with new wisdom. No more whispering decrees of victory while shouting declarations of defeat in the privacy of your own mind. No more dragging the heavy, rotting story of your suffering into the sacred, sunlit sanctuary of your rising. The altar is ready. The tomb is waiting. The Spirit of God, that great and silent power, is hovering. And it asks only one thing. Will you let the old you die? There is a fundamental spiritual principle, a law as real and as reliable as gravity, that has been sculpting your entire existence. It is the law of belief. This law, in its infinite power and perfect impartiality, does not judge what you believe. It does not question your commands. It simply, faithfully, and unfailingly brings your beliefs into physical form. It is the fertile soil of the universe, and it will grow whatever seed you plant within it. Florence Scovel Shinn, a woman who wielded this truth like a sword of light, taught that the subconscious mind is this fertile soil. It is a faithful, unquestioning servant. It takes every word, every deeply felt belief, every repeated thought, and accepts it as a divine command from you, its master. It does not know the difference between a truth that will set you free and a lie that will keep you in chains. It only knows how to obey. It only knows how to create. It only knows how to make your inner world a tangible, visible reality. And for years, perhaps for your entire life, you have been giving this powerful, faithful servant the wrong instructions. You have been a queen living in exile, forgetting her own power and issuing decrees for her own poverty. Every time you have spoken a word of lack, you have planted a seed of scarcity. Every time you have entertained a thought of fear, you have watered the weeds of anxiety. Every time you have accepted a label of unworthy or not enough, you have signed a spiritual contract with limitation, sealed with the authority of your own voice. And the law, in its perfect obedience, has brought you a harvest that matches your seeds. The life you are living right now, every circumstance, every relationship, every number in your bank account, is the manifested evidence of your deeply held beliefs. It is the mirror reflecting back to you the identity you have been unconsciously claiming as your own. Let this realization land in your soul, not as a blow of shame, but as the key that unlocks your prison door. This is not a condemnation, it is your emancipation. To know that you have been the creator of your own limitations is to simultaneously know that you are the creator of your own liberation. The power that created the struggle is the very same power that will create the triumph. You have simply been pointing it in the wrong direction. Imagine for a moment that you were born with a master artist at your side. This artist has one purpose: to paint the mural of your life. But this artist is blind and can only paint what you describe. Your words are the artist's only guide. When you were a child, you learned to describe the world from others. If they described a world of lack, of struggle, of love that had to be earned, you repeated those descriptions. You'd say, "Things are always so hard," and your master artist, hearing the command, would paint strokes of difficulty across your canvas. You'd whisper, "I'm just not as smart as she is," and the artist would paint you into a corner, overshadowed by others. You'd feel a pang of loneliness and say, "No one ever really sees me," and the artist would paint a veil over your face, making you invisible to the very connection you craved. Do you see, beloved? Your artist, this great subconscious power, has been listening. It has been obediently painting the life you have been describing. It has not been judging you. It has been serving you perfectly. The masterpiece of your life that you see before you today is a perfect rendition of your most consistent verbal and energetic instructions. And now you are awake. Now you will take the brush into your own hand. You will clear the old canvas. You will learn to speak not from the memory of what was painted, but from the vision of what you are now choosing to create. Let's bring this down from the clouds and into the soil of your everyday life. Let's look at how this unconscious creation plays out in the moments that make up your reality. Think about money. The woman who carries the deep cellular belief that there is never enough, that she is a creature of lack, lives out this creed with the precision of a prophet. She stands at the grocery store, and as the items are scanned, a knot of anxiety tightens in her stomach. That feeling is a prayer. It is a powerful, nonverbal declaration to the universe. I exist in a state of scarcity and fear. She clutches her purse a little tighter, a physical act of contraction, of holding on, of fearing loss. This posture is a command. When a friend suggests a beautiful vacation, her immediate, unspoken thought is not, "How can I create that?" but "I could never afford that." That thought is a spiritual decree that cancels out possibility. She speaks of bills as enemies, of expenses as thieves. Her language frames abundance as something outside of herself, something to be chased and captured, rather than a current that flows through her. Her faithful servant, the subconscious mind, hears all of this. It hears the prayer of anxiety. It feels the command of contraction. It registers the decree of impossibility. And it works tirelessly to create a reality that matches. It will arrange for unexpected car repairs. It will make her overlook an opportunity for a raise. It will ensure that money flows out faster than it flows in, all in perfect obedience to her core belief. There is never enough. Now, imagine a different woman. She may have the exact same amount of money in her bank account, but she has buried the identity of lack. She has performed the sacred funeral. When she stands at the grocery store, she sees the total, and her prayer is one of gratitude. Thank you for this abundance that feeds my body. I am a center of divine circulation. When a bill arrives, she blesses it. I bless this bill, and I send it forth with love, knowing that as I give, it returns to me pressed down, shaken together, and running over. She speaks of money as energy, as a tool for blessing herself and others. When the vacation is mentioned, her first thought is, "That is for me." Divine intelligence, show me the way. She is planting different seeds. She is giving her master artist a new set of instructions. And the law, in its perfect impartial power, must bring her a different harvest. Her reality must begin to bend and reform around her new belief. Let's look at love. A woman who carries the secret, silent belief that I will always be abandoned walks through the world broadcasting this fear like a radio signal. She goes on a date with a wonderful man, but she is not truly present. She is scanning for evidence of the inevitable end. If he is kind, she thinks, he's just being nice now, but he'll see the real me and leave. If he is busy and takes a few hours to text back, her nervous system floods with the familiar terror of rejection. She is not reacting to him, she is reacting to the ghost of her past. She may become clingy, pushing him away with her neediness, or she may become distant and guarded, pushing him away with her unavailability. Either way, the outcome is the same. Her belief creates the behavior that confirms the belief. She ends up alone and says, "See, I was right. They always leave." She doesn't realize she was the one who wrote the final scene before the play even began. Now, imagine the woman who has buried that identity. She has declared the corpse of the abandoned one to be dead and gone. She enters the date as a whole, complete being. She is not looking for a man to validate her. She is looking to share her fullness. If he is kind, she receives it with an open heart because she knows she is worthy of kindness. If he is busy, she continues to live her own joyful life because her peace is not dependent on his response time. She radiates a frequency of self-love and security. This energy is magnetic. It draws to her a partner who is also whole, who is not looking for someone to fix or to save, but for someone to cherish. Her belief in her own wholeness must, by law, be reflected back to her in her relationships. But there comes a moment, a holy tipping point, where the soul says, "Enough. Let me tell you a story." A parable for this very moment. There was a woman who found herself awake at midnight, drawn to the large mirror in her hallway as if by an invisible thread. The house was silent. The world was asleep. It was just her and her reflection. But the woman in the mirror was not her. Not really. The face was hers, but the eyes held the exhaustion of her mother and the anxiety of her grandmother. The set of her mouth held the familiar tension of unspoken disappointment. The reflection was a living ghost, an archive of every wound and every lie she had ever swallowed. And it began to speak to her, not in sound, but in feeling, a cold wave of recognition. It whispered her secret, cursed names, broke, abandoned, too much, not enough, always behind, forgotten. She felt the old shame rise, the familiar urge to turn away, to go back to bed, to pretend she hadn't seen, hadn't heard. She had spent her life trying to appease this ghost, trying to decorate it, trying to get its approval, never realizing it fed on her attention. But tonight was different. A fire, ancient and slow burning, began to glow in the pit of her stomach. It was a holy revolt, a sacred refusal, and she stood her ground. She did not weep. She did not argue. She looked the ghost in its tired, lying eyes, and for the first time, she spoke not to it, but over it. Her voice was quiet, but it shook the silence of the house. "You are not me," she said. "You are a memory. You are a story. You are a garment I will no longer wear." She took a deep breath, and the fire in her belly rose into her throat. "My name is not a wound. My name is not a number in a bank account. My name is not the opinion of a man who could not see me. My name is a word, spoken by God before the foundation of the world, and that name is whole. That name is beloved. That name is abundance. I do not answer to you anymore. She watched as the face in the mirror did not magically transform. It was still her face, but the light behind the eyes did. The familiar tension in the jawline softened. The echo of the old names fell silent, starved of the belief that gave them life. In that moment, she had not changed her reflection. She had changed her reality. The queen had finally taken her throne. That woman in the mirror is you. And the choice she made is the choice before you now. It is a choice you make not once, but every day. It is a sacred ritual. Here is how you make it. The process of reclaiming your dominion is not complex, but it requires a devotion that is both fierce and gentle. It is a daily rhythm, a sacred practice of realigning your inner world so your outer world must, by law, follow suit. It is a practice in 3 simple sacred movements. Step 1. The sacred burial. The morning crucifixion. Each morning, a new world is born, but you cannot enter this new world carrying the dust of the old one. Before your mind engages with the day's to-do list, before your thumb scrolls through the hypnosis of the world, you must perform a sacred burial. But let us call it by its true name. It is a crucifixion. It is the willing act of nailing the false self to the cross of truth, so that the true self may be resurrected. This is not a passive release. It is a violent, holy act of spiritual command. As you awaken, while you are still in that soft, liminal space between dreaming and waking, speak aloud. Let the vibration of your voice be the first sound that consecrates your space. You are speaking a holy decree over the day. Say with fierce, quiet authority, I now bring the false self of yesterday to the altar. The self of fear, the self of doubt, the self of limitation. I nail you to the cross. The identity that believed in lack, I speak your death. The identity that answered to the name of unworthy, I speak your death. The identity that rehearsed failure and expected pain, I speak your death. You are the lie, and you are now crucified by the sword of my spoken word. It is finished. Now, pause. Take a deep, conscious breath. Feel the finality of it. You have not been cruel. You have been definite. You have chosen truth over familiarity. You have created a sacred void, a holy emptiness where the lie used to reside. This is the necessary prerequisite for resurrection. You cannot fill a cup that is already full of poison. You must empty it first. Step 2. The divine enthronement, the morning resurrection. Now, into that sacred void, you must speak the rising. You must call forth the Christ, the true self. You must enthrone the queen. The tomb you have just created for the false self must now become the womb for the true self. Stand before a mirror. This is your altar. Look into your own eyes and see the eternal, unshakable light that was never born and can never die. That is who you are. Now speak to her. Call her forth. Speak your new name. Speak your resurrection into being. Let your voice carry the thunder of absolute certainty. I am the resurrection and the life of my divine plan. The tomb is empty. I now rise in the full power and authority of my Christ self. I am the image and likeness of God, and I lack nothing. Every cell of my body is now flooded with the light of divine health. Every corner of my world is now saturated with the presence of divine abundance. Every relationship is now governed by the law of divine love. I am not becoming, I am. And my word is the law unto my world. Heaven and earth now move to make it so. I speak, and the old passes away. Behold, all things are made new. I am the new creation, robed in power, crowned with wisdom, and seated upon the throne of my own consciousness. My word is a scepter, and I point it now at every area of my life, and I say, be perfected. I speak to my mind, and I say, be peace. I speak to my body, and I say, be whole. I speak to my finances, and I say, be abundant. I speak to my path, and I say, "Be clear. This is my decree, and it shall not return to me void." I am the living, breathing embodiment of divine success. The game of life is not a struggle. It is a joy, and I play it to win. I am fearless. I am powerful. I am unstoppable. The kingdom of heaven is within me, and I now bring it forth into my experience. I am a magnet for miracles. I am a conduit for grace. I am a testament to the power of the spoken word. The lie is dead. The truth is risen. And I am she. Pause for a moment. Let these words settle into your being. Breathe into the woman you have just declared. You are not faking it. You are finally telling the truth. You are aligning your human self with your divine blueprint, and the entire universe rejoices to assist you. Step 3. The embodied walk, reigning in your kingdom. The first 2 steps align your being. This third step aligns your doing. Throughout your day, you must consciously choose to think, speak, and act as the woman you declared yourself to be in the morning. This is the integration. This is where faith becomes flesh. When a challenge arises, you must pause, and you must ask yourself one question. How would the resurrected queen respond to this? How would she handle a condescending comment from a colleague? Not with defensive anger or wounded silence. She would respond with unshakable calm, with a quiet authority that needs no validation, perhaps with a simple, direct statement of truth that reestablishes the boundary of respect. She doesn't need to win. She already reigns. How would she handle a wave of loneliness on a quiet evening? She would not see it as proof of her unworthiness. She would recognize it as an invitation to deepen her relationship with herself, with God. She might light a candle, put on beautiful music, and dance in her living room, celebrating her own magnificent company. She fills her own cup until it overflows. This is not about being perfect. It is about being conscious. Every time you choose to respond from your new identity instead of your old one, you are deepening the groove of your new reality. You are strengthening the neural pathways of faith. You are proving to your subconscious mind that you are serious. You are walking your talk, and the universe, which only mirrors your state of being, must begin to pave a new path before you. Now, we must speak of the turbulence. For when you begin this sacred work, my beloved, you must be prepared for what feels like a storm. This is the moment where most seekers falter, where they lose their nerve and retreat to the familiar tomb of their old identity. But you will not, for you will understand what is happening. When you plant new seeds of truth in the garden of your mind, you are disturbing the soil that has been compacted for decades. The old root systems of fear, lack, and unworthiness will fight for their survival. The process of uprooting them is not a peaceful, silent event. It is a shaking. When you flip the master switch of your consciousness from limitation to abundance, the sudden surge of light can feel disorienting. It will illuminate all the dark corners of your being where the old beliefs have been hiding. Suddenly, you will become acutely aware of just how often you think thoughts of lack, how deeply you feel the fear of rejection, how instinctively you react with anxiety. This is not a sign that you are failing. This is the glorious, undeniable sign that you are succeeding. The resistance you feel is the proof that the old identity is being dethroned. The panic, the doubt, the sudden wave of sadness, that is the ego, the false self, throwing a tantrum. It is the adversary, as Florence called it, making its last stand. It is roaring because it knows its time is up. It sees you standing at the gate of your promised land, and it will do everything in its power to convince you to turn back to the familiar desert of your past. It will whisper insidious lies. This is too hard. It's not working. You actually feel worse. Look around. Nothing has changed. Your bank account is the same. You're still single. You're making a fool of yourself. Who do you think you are trying to be so spiritual? Just be realistic. This is who you are. Accept it. You must learn to recognize this voice for what it is, the death rattle of a lie. It is not your voice. It is the echo of the corpse you buried this morning. And you do not argue with a corpse. When this resistance rises, your work is not to fight it. Your work is not to analyze it. Your work is to speak over it. You simply and calmly substitute the lie with the truth. When the thought, "I'm so scared this won't work," arises, you do not engage. You speak aloud. "That is a lie. I am divinely guided and protected, and my faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It is already done." When the feeling of lack washes over you, you do not spiral. You place your hand on your heart and declare, "That is an old energy that is now leaving my body. My truth is that I am one with God, and God is the source of all abundance. My supply is infinite and instantaneous." Let us pause here. Take a deep breath into the very center of your being. The outer world, too, may seem to stubbornly hold its old shape for a time. This is the law of germination. When you plant a seed, the most dramatic transformation happens in the dark, beneath the surface. For days, even weeks, it may look like nothing is happening. But underground, a universe of activity is unfolding. The seed is cracking open. Roots are pushing down. A sprout is fighting its way toward the light. Your word is that seed. Your declaration is the law that has already been set in motion. The manifestation you see with your physical eyes is always a lagging indicator of the spiritual reality you have already created with your word. Your only job is to water that seed with your continued faith, to keep the soil of your mind clear of the weeds of doubt, and to trust the divine timing of the harvest. Do not dig up the seed every day to see if it's growing. It is. Trust the law. And so we arrive at the threshold. A final luminous truth and a choice that will define the rest of your days. The truth, which I pray you will let settle into the very marrow of your bones, is this: you are not broken. You were never broken. You are not a human being struggling to fix your flaws and earn your way to a distant heaven. You are a perfect, whole, and magnificent spiritual being who was hypnotized into a temporary amnesia. You forgot your own divinity. You forgot your power. You forgot your name. And your work is not one of self-improvement. It is one of divine remembrance. The I am within you, the Christ consciousness, the spark of God. It is, and has always been, utterly perfect, whole, and complete. It is simply waiting for you to turn your loving attention toward it. And now, the choice. It is a choice of identity. Which self will you now claim? Will you continue to animate the ghost of your past, a small self defined by wounds and limitations? Or will you finally step into the radiant, powerful body of your truth, the divine self who knows only wholeness, abundance, and love? You cannot live in two worlds. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot wear the crown of your divinity while still clutching the rags of your old suffering. The tomb has been prepared. The word has been given. The spirit of life is listening, waiting for your final decree. It asks you now, as you stand at the doorway between who you have been and who you truly are. Will you give the old you the honorable burial it deserves, so that the real you, the magnificent you, can finally, fully, gloriously rise? Your future is not waiting for a sign from the heavens. It is waiting for a command from your own lips. And now I will speak not to you, but as you. I will model the voice of the risen one. Let this rhythm enter you. Let it become the new cadence of your soul. This is not just an affirmation. It is an activation. This is the lightning strike of sacred ceremony. I die to fear. I rise in faith. I die to doubt. I rise in knowing. I die to lack. I rise in abundance. I die to the lie of my smallness. I rise in the truth of my divinity. My mouth is a holy weapon. With it, I speak death to every chain. My tongue is a scepter. With it, I command my world into divine order. My breath is a fire. With it, I burn away the residue of every old story. I bury the woman who waited. I rise as the woman who creates. I bury the woman who pleaded. I rise as the woman who commands. I bury the woman who apologized for her light. I rise as the woman who is the light. The chains of my ancestors do not bind me. I am the one who breaks them with my word. The curses of my bloodline end with me. I am the one who speaks the blessing. The patterns of my family do not define me. I am the one who establishes a new heaven and a new earth right here, right now. I speak to the mountain of debt and I say, be removed. I speak to the history of heartbreak and I say, be dissolved. I speak to the body of pain and I say, be made whole. I speak to the spirit of delay and I say, you are powerless here. For I am the daughter of the King. I am the heir to the kingdom. I am the living temple of the Most High God. And in my house, only miracles are welcome. In my world, only grace has dominion. In my mouth, only truth has a voice. The old is gone. The counterfeit is crucified. The past is a tomb, and I have rolled away the stone. I am not healing. I am risen. I am not becoming. I am. I am not hoping. I am. I am not trying. I am. And so it is. And now, a final deep breath. Let the silence integrate the word. To seal this sacred work, to anchor this new decision in the physical realm, I invite you to make a public declaration. Not for me, not for others, but for yourself. Let this be your first act as the conscious commander of your life. In the comments below, write these words. Feel their power as you type them. Let it be a holy contract with your own soul. Write, I am ready to lead my subconscious mind. Let this be your announcement to the universe that the old ruler is gone. A new queen has taken the throne. A new story has begun. For as long as you believed you were the effect, you were at the mercy of the world. But the moment you remember you are the cause, the world is at the mercy of your word. So I ask you one last time, beloved soul, what will you call yourself now? The answer is not floating in the cosmos. It is waiting on your tongue. It is as close as your next breath. Speak, and watch your new world be born.